ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरिः ॐ। पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीं अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वाम् अनुसन्दधामि। भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दम् कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम्। My namaskars to you all who are all listening to this talk on Srimad Bhagavad Gita. We are in the 6th chapter, Shashtha Adhyaya. The name of this chapter is Dhyana Yoga, the path of meditation. And in the last class, we were discussing the 16th verse. So, we have seen the meaning of this 16th verse. That verse goes like this: Natyashnatastu yogosti na chaikantam anashnatah na chati swapnashilasya jagrato naiva charjuna. Charjuna is Cha Arjuna. So, it is said here that this yoga is not for the person who keeps on eating over limit, ati, excessive. Excessive of what? So, a moderate level in which there is no pangs of hunger, as well as his stomach is not bloated, and like some kind of intoxicant, it does not slows him down. So, otherwise, if we take so much food, you almost feel dizzy that you cannot do anything, and you just have to now lie down. So, having such kind of habit, and like it's hangover, okay, You take food, you need to take rest. But like an hangover, it spills over several hours. Then, and this habit of regular, if it becomes a regular feature, then there is no yoga for such person. Similarly, it is said about excessively having the habit of constriction. So, to mortifying your own flesh, not to eat, do lot of fasting. Many people in the name of and due to various reasons, they do this. People who have odd working hours, people who are, so to say, many times women in the past of earlier days, so they used to fast, devoted to some deity or other, and several days a week, and at the same time working continuously for the home, for the family, and appeasing that hunger with some kind of fast food in the sense tea mostly. So that way mortifying your flesh. But in that scenario, I have seen less people who have got affected by it. So many times the people who are hooked up on some kind of intoxicant, who are addict to some kind of substance abuse, they let go of their hunger. Many times people passionate about their suppose hobbies, sometime work, it happens to them. So they do not eat at all or sacrifice their food. So these both kinds of habit are not good if we want to be successful on this path of meditation, on the path of yoga. As Shankaracharya puts it, Bhagavan Shankaracharya puts it, that food, anna, is the aushadha, the medicine of this element called kshuddha, the hunger. This vyadhi, kshuddha vyadhi. For that vyadhi, this is the aushadha, anna. In that sense, one must take food. So food, as much it is required as you understand to your body. And in the 17th chapter, lot many things are said about the food, that it should be pleasing, etc. It should not be dry, it should not be having extremes. That should not be that is not a good sign. That is not satvika food. That excessively hot, then it's a stale food. It is in excessive kat vamla katu amla lavana ati ushna. So hot in the sense. So in this extreme these ideas about the food, speaking on the other hand, that in Hindu tradition, in our history, in Indian tradition, the people and the whole society, for that matter, become so obsessed with food and the idea of gaining satvikta, this purity, thereby this idea becomes so reinforced, so concretized, and we almost let go of the spirit and clutched on to these outer shells. So in Colombo to Almora, Sri Ramakrishna Swami Vivekananda, he says that kitchen has become our temple, kitchen has become our religion, and the utensils therein has become our gods. We see that food plays important role. Aharat sattva shuddhi. Sattva is the mind. So, but it is not the one and only factor which contributes to the purity of mind. Rather, it plays a very little role in that sense. We only see from one way that food will give rise to sattva. I would rather like to see this other way round, as sattva grows in a person, so his food habits change, and we should look for that. Sri Ramakrishna explains this. He says very categorically in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. He had said this to Naren, Swami Vivekananda. But this was his general habit. He was not very hard and fast. We have been seeing there are numerous other instances where he is seen with a relaxed attitude toward these external observances regarding food, etc. So, this is the indicator. If one person is practicing yoga, meditation, and it is really getting deep into him, rather people always think that they are getting deep into meditation, that meditation rather should go deep within that person. We will speak in that language, that meditation is going deep within that person, within the psyche of that person, within the persona and character of that person, that it has become his lifestyle. He is not a yogi meditating only when he is sitting on the asana some two times 1 hour each a part of the day. Rather, it becomes his general attitude that meditation is going deep within that person, getting into his deep within his heart, going into his bone marrow. That person, now this kind of attitude, this person can become successful. Now everything of his behavior then have the stamp of it, the imprint of it, that attitude. Such a person who has become habituated of such practice and had got the taste of the joy and peace of meditation, the pleasures of the senses and of the world, slowly and gradually becomes insipid, tasteless, and cumbersome for that person. He thinks too much of trouble to do anything to enjoy the pleasures of the world. That is the idea. The people, how much they draw pleasure in general, the person who is hooked upon the sensory pleasures, the only material pleasures. So eating gourmet food means seeing it, even remembering it, or having the smell of it, have the mouth full of water in his mouth, and that person would stuff himself up to his throat. That would not be possible for a yogi with whom we are discussing about. The meditation is getting deep within him. that attitude, he will not be able to indulge himself or herself so much, and that is the marker that we should look for, rather than only eating moderately will not help you become a yogi. It is a condition, but there have been such master yogi who had this inhuman capabilities that they could go without food for several days, and at a time they could eat for the food of dozens of people. India is full of the stories of such people. Even the disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, Swami Trigunatitananda Maharaj, Swami Yogananda Maharaj, and Swami Adbhutanandji Maharaj. If you see their life stories, some were so frugal in their life. Swami Trigunatitanandji, in his life we see both kinds of extreme. So, only eating food habits cannot turn you into yogi. That is to be remembered. It has to be seen other way around. If you are getting right into meditation, you will not be able to act like any other person who can draw immense pleasure in food and sleep. That will not be possible. When you see these markers in your life, then you know that you are getting into yoga. These are the thing. Natyashnatastu yogosti nachaikantam anashnatah. So naturally he will not be able to too much. That identification with the body, pleasures and pains thereof, those bonds will become loosened. And that is what is necessary, because this world is full of uncertainties, of thick and thins. The person, the yogi, must be able to meditate in any condition. Whatever might be happening, he must have that ability to gather his mind and throw it on a point, on the object of his meditation. So, this is the idea. And here it is symbolic. It is not about the food and sleep alone. It is not the habit of eating or sleeping alone. Rather, if you see, these are about the yoga kshema. The food is very fundamental with regards to your preservation. That is called the yoga kshema. And so this is related to rajas. So all your rajasic activities, if it is not contoured by sattva, if it is not oriented by sattva, then this rajas in itself is distracting from the yoga. We are many times in the name of good things, responsibility of family, duty of the office, of the society, etc., doing good to others, many such things. So these all things require rajas. But if your mind is not properly trained, you might definitely can get distracted. You will see that such kind of things, doing lot of things, lot of samaj seva you have done, lot of other things you have done, are you able to meditate? That is the question. Many times you will find that wanting, that it is not, and you compensate, you console your mind कि हमने तो भगवान का काम किया है, आज तो मेडिटेशन करने की क्या जरूरत है, हाँ यही तो मेडिटेशन है, etc. So these kinds of excuse you can give, but you know yourself that you are not able to meditate. You have lost your mind in the world. It only becomes karma. So this is karma, the rajas. And this tamas, this is passive consumption, which is denoted by the sleep. What there is a more pleasure after having tummy full of food, nice food, very palatable, and then sleeping for like means there is no tomorrow. Probably the greatest of the creature pleasures this body, this earth, this world can give a good sleep, a sound sleep. Very few pleasures probably can come close to it. Having nice sleep without any worries of tomorrow. Many of the people, so much they are troubled at the want of it. It is so fundamental and crucial to the integrity of your mind, your brain, your thinking as a normal person, that if you go without sleep for several days, you can go mad, you can go crazy, you can lose your mental balance, you can become deranged, you can simply snap off. How fundamental these both pleasures of food. Since you were amoeba, just a protoplasm, not even a singular cell, you had the idea of food. You had the idea of food. Even before the idea of multiplication comes the idea of food. It is that fundamental. Similarly, the another idea, the idea of sleep. So these are very basic, intrinsic drives, necessities of the human being. And one person, if he is progressing on the path of yoga, on the path of transcendence, on the transcending this materialism, this materiality, progressing towards the spirit, the consciousness, the true self, the true identity of the self, of the being, becoming aware of that and traveling in that direction, that is yoga, the path of meditation. These bonds must become loose. In its very natural way, they will have lesser and lesser sway over your being, over your behavior. That is the idea. So we see this as the very basic condition, and from an higher standpoint of view, from the other way around, when we see it, it shows the evolution of the yogi. So this is a few ideas I wanted to put across regarding this, the two traits what Bhagwan mentioned here with regards to food and sleep. So as they are very natural, and very commonplace, so they are not to be looked down or looked upon very casually. They are very fundamental and very powerful forces. And when you see the moderation, this change in its behavior, then you can be certain that that meditation is really reaching you, is having its effect upon you. So, taking this idea further, the 17th verse says, Yuktahara viharasya युक्त चेष्टस्य कर्मसु युक्त स्वप्नावबोधस्य योगो bhavati dukkha. So, you should not eat too much and you should not go entirely without food. So what does it mean? It means this. In the 17th verse, Bhagavan says that yukta ahara viharasya yukta cheshtasya karmasu. So for such a person who is of the habit of taking just the required yukta, upayukta, which is as a blessing to his body and soul, body and mind. So such a food he takes, such a way he conducts himself, vihara, and such is his initiatives, his enterprise, his efforts, yukta cheshtasya karmasu, in action, and yukta swapna and avabodha. Accordingly, he moderately sleeps and moderately he keeps awake. For such a person, there is this yoga bhavati. This yoga happens for such a person of this nature of eliminating all these sorrows of life, which is the yoga of the nature of which will end the sorrows of life. That is dukkha. That it will bring an end to all miseries, all sorrows of life. Such yoga will happen to that person, and this is the general nature. As if many times what happens, we human beings, we are of the habit of, we are impressed by vishesha, something spectacular, something extraordinary. And when we see that out of the normals, then we analyze that, we study that, and we come to form some kind of inferences that how this happens, how some person become extraordinarily successful. So what led to it? We do study of it, and all our analysis mostly, so it is of the nature of retrograde. It is not that we see a person and we see that all his condition he is doing rightful and he will become successful. We rather see a successful person and study back to his what he has done in the past and what led to his success. So in that format, here also, as if we are studying for a person to achieve that yoga which will bring an end to all sorrows. These are a kind of conditions. This is a kind of environment is produced, inculcated by that yogi, that he is yukta. He is, in higher sense, if I say, that person, yukta means yoga yukta in that sense. Yukta here it can be taken in the sense of moderate, or which is useful for that person, which is a blessing for that person. You eat food, whether that food is a blessing or burden, you can yourself evaluate it. How much you needed it, whether that food has served you well, or whether it has just satisfied your cravings. So this is the question, whether that food has served your body and soul, whether that food has come as a blessing, whether that food is therefore yukta or ayukta. Or not only that food, yukta ahara, but also yukta vihara. What does that mean? That person, he conducts himself in such a way which is a blessing to himself. That he conducts himself in such a way that it facilitates, it promotes his meditative ability. Also, as he engages in the action, his efforts are also like that. That a person is, if supposedly is of the devoted nature, there are different stories of the saints in our tradition. We see one, what Sri Ramakrishna narrates, that a person, whole day he was working in the field, and to the evening, after his food, he sat in front of his house in his little porch, and he was taking the name of the Lord. And that night was especially very hot and humid, so he could not sleep. So he was sitting outside taking the name of Rama. And at that night, some dacoits was going by, and unfortunately they lacked one person in their team. So they saw this person and they thought he could be a very useful candidate, and they dragged him along with them. They broke into house of a wealthy person, and then they had collected a lot of goods, a valuable stuff from the house of that wealthy person, and one bunch of it was given on the head of this person, using that person as a potter. So somehow that their robbery got bust. They scattered, they ran away, and this person got caught. He was presented before the magistrate, and he got a chance to explain himself. So he narrates that I was sitting by the wheel of Rama. I worked in the field. By the will of Rama, I came back to home. By the will of Rama, I had the food. By the will of Rama, I could not sleep. By the will of Rama, I was taking his name. By the will of Rama, dacoits came. By the will of Rama, they took me along. By the will of Rama, they broke into the house of the wealthy man. By the will of Rama, they got a lot of goodies from his house. And by the will of Rama, they gave one bunch to me too. But by the will of Rama, that robbery got bust, and by the will of Rama everybody ran away, and by the will of Rama I got caught, and by the will of Rama I am presented before yourself, and by the will of Rama here I am. So judge verified his credential, whether this person is really as he is presenting himself to be, and when he found right, so that person was released. So point is that this person, what is the idea of being yukta vihara? Yukta vihara, it can be simply mean keeping the company of good people, keeping the company of people, and going to such places, doing such things, and moderating your daily behavior in such a way so as to facilitate and incorporate a kind of a value towards progress, in progress of your goal, going towards a goal, progress towards a goal. So, and for a yogi, for the person who is meditating, if he is a devotee, or if he is or yogi or karma yogi or jnana yogi, whatever his idea might be, whatever his path or approach might be. So he conducts himself in such a way that it facilitates his meditation, his sadhana, his spiritual practice. It reinforces his spiritual wisdom rather than pile up the ignorance. That's why karma, all chesta, Shankaracharya, we find him all the time against the karma. Avidya kama karma. This is what he used to say. That from avidya, from ignorance, desires are born. And from desires, they begets this karma, this action. So, karma is very much correspond to every karma. It will pile up all ignorance. So, your only karma, which is opposite to this idea of piling up this avidya, rather it reinforcing your spiritual attitude. That karma is that kind of conduct of behavior, that is yukta vihara. So similarly, this idea of yukta chestasya karmasu, in action, your effort, all kinds of your duties or responsibilities, how you take upon yourself and how you engage yourself in your duties. Whether you are at that time yukta or completely disconnected. Yukta, it can mean also connected to your self within, to your spiritual ideal within, where you are entrenched properly, or you are completely unseated from your spiritual seat. You are yukta or not? That is the question. So, and it is, so then this idea comes, yukta swapna and avabodha, that alright, we can understand when you are awake in your full senses. You can be yukta, you can be moderate, you can be because you are conscious. But what about swapna, when you are sleeping? Yes, that is the idea, that when that meditation goes deep within that person and it slowly turns to become his character, and he makes the necessary choices and sacrifices, that integrity, that cohesiveness reaches deep within that person, then that person is also awake in his sleep. He is not lost. He is not lost. His practice does not give up him. It protects that person. He remains aware even in his dreams. That what his that deep, that person's idea of life, attitudes of life, ideals of life, his acceptance, his feeling oneness with those ideas must travel that much deep, that along, that he becomes those ideas, that person. That's why he is also connected in his sleep also. Whatever that sleep he enjoys, or whatever it is necessary, he takes it. So this is the general path of spiritual development for any person. This is how spiritual life is to be lived. This is how spiritual life is to be approached. This is the idea of spiritual life. That you are yukta, you are connected to God, to your idea of spiritual ideal, whatsoever, howsoever, in whatsoever form it is. Of the form of devotion, of the form of knowledge, of the form of yoga, of the form of karma yoga, whatever. So, this is how that spiritual life is not something, a A portion of your day you live, you go to temple and you do this, you do that. Spiritual life goes beyond. It is all compassing. Nothing falls out of this arena, of this umbrella of what we call as spiritual life, spiritual ideal. You are spiritual everywhere. You are yukta everywhere. You are one heart, one soul, one being every time, whenever, whatever you are doing. Bringing that awareness, bringing that cohesiveness, bringing that integrity in life, that is the spiritual progress. This is what we learn from this verse 17. That to getting deep into the spiritual life, this kind of integrity, this kind of approach, this kind of cohesion is required in our thinking, in our heart, in our feeling, and in our action. So, this is what we can say the practice and secret of spiritual life. So, this is the verse Yukta Ahara, Yukta Viharasya, Yukta Cheshtasya Karmasu, Yukta Swapna Avabodhasya, Yogo Bhavati Dukkha. And such kind of yoga, such kind of this spiritual progress, this will bring an end to all sorrows, all misery of life. That is the idea. So we conclude here, and next portion of this chapter we will take in the next class. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.